Part 41. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 401. He knows very well that although the price given by Xuanhuan is very fair, Yanxiangluo's meaning is very clear. This is the lowest price. It depends on how many times the price you can pay, at least to satisfy her. They are both fine people and understanding people. Mr. Meng said with a smile, although the actual price of these things is 3,000 low-grade spiritual stones, my behavior has indeed caused trouble to you too. It also requires customizing the furniture. I'll give you 3,000 high-grade spiritual stones for your time and energy. What do you think, Miss Yu? Although the quantity is the same, the gap between high-grade and low-grade is not as big as usual. Logically speaking, Mr. Meng is considered generous. Yanxiangluo smiled and said, I can sell 10,000 high-grade spiritual stones for just one antidote pill, so I'm not short of this few spiritual stones. The implication is dissatisfaction. The two attendants behind Mr. Meng twitched their lips. Sure enough, this girl wanted to open her mouth. The master was so generous, but she was still not satisfied. Mr. Meng also didn't expect that she was still unwilling even after paying such a huge price. He knew in his heart that she knew she had to get these things, and it was also because she wanted to let go of the trouble she had caused her yesterday. She had just arrived. You can't be a direct enemy to yourself, so you can only vent your anger on money. Although he is not short of these spiritual stones, his mood is not much better after being taken advantage of like this. Turning his eyes to Xuanhuan, he suppressed his anger and said, Miss Yu is right, but the value of these things is still incomparable with the elixirs. Then, are you satisfied with 5,000 high-grade spiritual stones? The implication is that he also has a temper. Yanxiangluo didn't seem to notice that he was angry, and curled her lips and said, Okay, now you can move the things if I give you the spirit stone. She gave up when she was good, and she was so measured that even Xuanhuan admired her. This girl knows how to manipulate people's hearts. Mr. Meng felt uncomfortable holding in his breath and couldn't spit it out. He raised his hand and the attendant behind him, the one who came to buy antidote pills yesterday, immediately took out a kinkan bag and put 5,000 high-grade spiritual stones in it. And then handed it to his master. Mr. Meng took the kinkan bag and used his spiritual power to place it on the table next to Yanxiangluo. Yanxiangluo calmly picked up the kinkan bag and put the spiritual stones inside into her storage ring, and then threw the kinkan bag over. She was not polite and threw the kinkan bag directly to the guard. The guard was obviously unprepared. He swayed before catching the attack. He knew that this was Yanxiangluo's intention, but he could not say anything. Yanxiangluo stood up and said to him, We have to go out to do some work, so you can move things now. Thank you very much, Miss Yu, for your convenience. Mr. Meng stood up and saluted. Xuanhuan stood up and walked out with Yanxiangluo. When he walked to Mr. Meng, he said to him, We will come back after dinner. In this day, I hope Mr. Meng will finish everything. We don't want him to do anything in the future to be disturbed again. Mr. Meng understands that what Xuanhuan means is that if you are looking for something, I will give you time. In addition to moving these things, you can also search the entire yard and don't disturb us in the future. Thank you, we will leave before dinner. This is also a promise that you will not disturb me again in the future. Actually, he knew very well that they had already come to see him secretly, and one day was enough. They can carefully search all the places they missed before. One day is enough for him to arrange more people. If they can't find it again, then the thing should not be in this yard. Or it may have been taken away. Who took it away? Although the original owner is more likely, Xuanhuan and Yanxiangluo are not excluded. Although Xuanhuan said that he only arrived last night, but none of his people could trace his whereabouts, this is somewhat believable. Xuanhuan didn't say anything more. He took Yanxiangluo's hand and walked out together. Mr. Meng narrowed his eyes as he watched them leave. These two people have such a tacit understanding. Mr. Meng, who has never cared about the relationship between men and women, is a little envious. Who wouldn't want a partner who is so compatible in terms of cultivation, talent, IQ, and tacit understanding of work? He shook his head and put these thoughts out of his mind. In a big family like theirs, marriages are all through marriage. It is impossible to have such a partner. It would be good if they could treat each other without getting tired of each other and treat each other as guests. Let everyone come in and take away everything they can, and then conduct a comprehensive search without missing a single thing. Search as many times as you can before dinner. Mr. Meng gave the order, and there was no trace of emotion on his face at this time. There were no mild emotions. The two attendants immediately went out. Mr. Meng turned around and went to the study. The study and bedroom were the places where he suspected that things were most likely to be kept. However, he searched them personally and found no hidden compartments or secret rooms. Later, his people will clear out the things in the study, and he will personally search whether there is a dark room. When he returns, he will personally inspect the things in the kitchen and bedroom. Yan Xianglou and Ji Zhozhong left home and walked towards the Yangcheng government office. After breakfast, they went to put their identity cards in place before talking about anything else. Originally I just wanted to go out and get some identity tags and buy a few servants, but now that I have a whole day, I am no longer in a hurry. They can go shopping and customize the furniture they need. They don't have to think about the empty house when they go back. It would be best to buy some ready-made furniture. After all, they have to buy people and go back. They can't even have something for sleeping and cooking. The two found a place to have breakfast. Ji Zhozhong discovered that perhaps Luoluo was an alchemist and proficient in cooking. The places she found to eat were almost always places with chefs, and they were not actually big restaurants. But the food produced tastes great and has very few impurities. The place where they had breakfast was not far from the Xiangyang city government office, so those who came to have breakfast had a table of government servants from the government office. The two of them were eating while listening to the Yaman's chat, and they were able to hear some information about Xiangyang city. They actually heard a piece of news that interested them. This morning, the city lord issued another announcement, asking for medical treatment from the young city lord. Didn't we already issue a medical notice at the end of this year's New Year? I heard that the doctor who came was invited from Yun's Hang Palace and he hasn't been cured yet. Who knows, the young city lord has been ill for 5 years, and I don't know if it can be cured. After saying this, he covered his mouth and looked around. He was relieved when he saw that there was no suspicious person. Instead, he saw Yan Xianglou, who had an alluring appearance. His eyes paused, and then he felt a chill coming over him. The fragrance falls ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 402. He turned his eyes and realized that the chill came from the man next to the beautiful woman, and he immediately withdrew his gaze. This chill shows that the person's cultivation level is much higher than mine, so don't feel uncomfortable. They clearly looked like a couple, and they both had such outstanding looks that I felt like it was blasphemy to take another look at them. Yu Xianglou didn't pay attention to this, because he was interested in the young city lord's illness, so he used mind-reading skills to hear more useful news. The Yaman servant who covered his mouth looked back and felt annoyed. Why was his mouth not closed? How could he say these words? Fortunately, there was no one from the city lord's palace. It was okay to talk to the brothers in private. If the city lord who was protecting the calf knew about it, I will definitely not end well. The government officials obviously knew that he had said the wrong thing. In order to avoid more trouble, they hurriedly finished their meal and left. When leaving, I couldn't help but look at Yan Xianglou a few more times. The main reason was that the girl was too beautiful to leave. She was also wearing a dazzling red dress, which made her even more dazzling. They have seen the most beautiful woman in the mainland from a distance, but neither appearance nor temperament can compare with the girl in front of them. Yan Xianglou heard a message from the Yamen servant's voice. The lord of Xiangyang city was very concerned about his son. It must have cost a lot to hire a doctor from Yunzhang Palace. No one was allowed to say a word about his son. If it's not good, it's obvious that he attaches great importance to the son and is very popular with him. The severity of the condition and the status of the patient are just right for him to make a name for himself. Yan Xianglou and Ji Zhozhong looked at each other. Ji Zhozhong immediately knew what she meant and sent a message to her, "Don't worry, let Wuji go check it out later." Although there is a plan to use medical skills to become famous, it must be done under safe conditions. The first patient is the son who the lord of Xiangyang city cares about so much. There is no room for any mistakes. The most important thing is to determine whether the illness of the young Lord Luoluo can be cured. Yan Xianglou nodded. After the two of them finished eating, they walked to the government office. On the way, Yan Xianglou released Wuji from the space and asked him to go to the city lord's mansion to see how sick the young city lord was. Those who don't know better think that Wuji is her spiritual pet. From the first time he entered her space, Wuji stayed in her space without any problems. He would not come out when Ji Zhozhong came out. There were 2 guards guarding the entrance of the government office. They met them when they were having breakfast. The 2 guards saw them rushing towards the government office. They looked at each other and thought in their hearts that they were here to do business. I can also see a few more beauties. Yuan Xianglou walked to the gate of the government office and said, "To government officials, we need to settle down, what should we do?" It turned out that they were applying for status and residence. It seems that the 2 of them just moved to Xiangyang city. They will have the opportunity to see beauties in the future. The beauties called them eldest brother, and the 2 government servants were very enthusiastic and told them where to go and who to deal with. I never expected that they did not move to Xiangyang city, but came from the lower continent. After Yan Xianglou thanked him, he and Ji Zhozhong walked into the government office. The government office is divided into several courtyards for doing business. It is a coincidence that the courtyard where the residence is located contains the person who just said the wrong thing while eating together and looked at Yuan Xianglou in a daze and was frightened by Ji Zhozhong. I was a little surprised to see the 2 people coming in, and then I thought that they were here to do something. They were on their own territory, so no matter how powerful they were, what could they do? However, thinking of Ji Zhozhong's behavior when he warned him before, he was still frightened and did not dare to embarrass the 2 of them. The official settlement process was done for them. After reading the house deeds, they were asked to take out their ID cards to settle in. When they saw their ID cards, they were stunned. Normally, the identity cards of high-level mainlanders are white jade. Only those who have just arrived from the lower mainland have emerald jade. These 2 emerald green identity cards seemed to be mocking him. The native high-level mainlanders are not as high as those who have just come from the lower mainland. But to think that they could come from a lower continent to a higher continent at such a young age, and that they could come out of the twilight continent and settle directly in their southern continent, no matter their talent, wisdom, and means, it was beyond the capabilities of a small government servant like him. Therefore, although they were shocked that they came from a lower continent, they did not dare to neglect at all. They registered the identity tags in accordance with the rules, and then replaced the identity tags with white jade ones for them. Finally, returned the 2 identity cards and the house deed to them. Only then did Yan Xianglou learn that there is no separate household registration certificate in the higher mainland. All information is in the ID card, so the ID card is also equivalent to your household registration card. Yan Xianglou looked at the identity card in her hand. Is this the end? The Yamen officer twitched his lips, wondering how troublesome it would be to get an identity card, but he still explained it to them. You 2 also need to put a drop of your blood on the identity card, so that only you can use your identity card in the future. Every time you use it, enter a spiritual power, and your information will be displayed on the identity card. Thank you very much. After saying thank you, Yan Xianglou gave the other party 3 red crystal coins to express her gratitude. The Yamen servant did not expect them to be so discerning and generous, and his mood immediately improved. Xiangyang City is the most comfortable city to live in the entire southern continent. Our city lord pays great attention to the lives of the people. Whether it is the living environment or daily necessities, Xiangyang City has everything available, of all grades, and our Xiangyang City is the closest city to Yunzhang Palace in the entire southern continent, so you can often see people from Yunzhang Palace in the city. You will definitely not regret choosing to live here. As soon as the Yamen servant was in a good mood, he talked more. Yu Xianglou felt very speechless. This man really talked a lot. He was the only one who said the wrong things among so many Yamen servants. Obviously, he usually likes to talk. Talking too much will lead to mistakes, not at all. False. But at this time, she was still very lucky to meet him. Such a person is easy to get information. Yan Xianglou asked a lot of questions on the grounds that she had just arrived in Xiangyang City and didn't know much about it. She is a beauty herself and a generous beauty, and the Yamen servant knows almost everything. When they left the government office, Yan Xianglou found out a lot of news about the city lord's mansion. Ji Zhong knew her purpose. Although he didn't like her talking so much to the Yamen servant, he tolerated it. After leaving the government office, the two of them walked around and shopped. They found a shop that had ready-made furniture, selected some ready-made furniture, and put it directly into the space. Furniture made of precious wood must be customized and built in advance, so most of what they buy is for the servants' rooms. As for the furniture in their own room, Ji Zhong said he would not make it and would go back to refine it. Yan Xianglou was immediately interested. Can you refine a shaking bed for me? Ji Zhong heard of a rocking bed for the first time. Luo, are you sure it's not a rocking chair? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 403. Chapter 403. Yahang buys people. Ji Zhong imagined shaking the bed, but he felt that it would not be comfortable to sleep, and he would be shaking around while practicing, and he would not be able to practice quietly. After Yan Xianglou told her, she also realized that this was a fantasy world, not the modern world she had lived in. The shaker might not be able to refine it. A rocking chair will work too. Ji Zhong raised his eyebrows. That was fine, but what she wanted was still a rocking bed. He said nothing more but started thinking about how to make the bed comfortable and rockable. After walking around all morning, the two of them came to Xiangyang Tower, the most famous restaurant in Xiangyang City, to rest and have a meal. Yan Xianglou finally had a satisfying meal. This is the most skilled cook we have encountered since arriving in the higher continent, Yan Xianglou praised. Indeed, Ji Zhu nodded and added, but it's still not as delicious as Luo's. The waiter who came to serve the food didn't take it seriously after hearing Ji Zhong's words. Even if this man wanted to please a woman, he still had to be realistic. He didn't believe it. There were people in Xiangyang City who could cook better food than the chef in Xiangyang Tower. But the visitor is a guest. He is dissatisfied and will not speak out. But I remember these two people. I have no choice but to remember them. It is difficult not to remember them. The main reason is that the appearance of these two people is so outstanding. They have such amazing looks that you can't forget just by looking at them. The two sat for a while after lunch before leaving the restaurant and continued walking around Xiangyang City until it was almost dinner time. Then the two went to Yahang. The main thing is that he promised to go back after dinner. It was already early and these people had no place to stay. By coincidence, the person who received them was the same guy who introduced Yan Xianglou to buy a house yesterday. However, when Yan Xianglou bought a yard yesterday, she didn't use her real face. The guy didn't know that she was the woman who bought a yard yesterday. But I feel a little strange. Why are women nowadays willing to wear bright red dresses? The girl who bought a house yesterday was also wearing a bright red dress, and today this one is also wearing a red dress. Although there is a slight difference, but the ingredients are almost the same. But the appearance is so different, one is in heaven and the other is on earth. However, this did not affect his enthusiasm for entertaining customers. What do you two distinguished guests want to buy? Yan Xianglou said, I want to buy some servants. When the boy heard that he wanted to buy someone, he knew that he would not make any money today, but he immediately led them to the backyard. Two distinguished guests are coming with me. A group of slaves just arrived 2 days ago. They have been taught and sent over today. You two distinguished guests can choose first. Yan Xianglou and Ji Zhozhong looked at each other, and Ji Zhozhong knew what she was doubting. He explained to her through a message, since slaves are prisoners. Depending on the size of the crime they committed, some prisoners will be beaten into slavery and become slaves. They can be bought and sold after they have completed their servitude. They have all been branded with the mark of slavery and cannot undo it for the rest of their lives. It can't be untied, isn't it impossible? Yan Xianglou said. Yes, in fact, there are such slaves in the lower continents. Many families are willing to use such slaves to do some hard work. Not only to save labor money, but also to rest assured. Although there is a chance to unlock the slave mark, no master is willing to set the slave free. Yes, after all, they will not betray if they have the slave seal. Ji Zhozhong told the truth. While he was talking, the waiter had already led them to the backyard, and a woman came to greet them. The waiter said, Grandma son, you two distinguished guests want to choose a slave. Didn't we send a new batch of slaves today? Let the two distinguished guests choose first. Sun Po said with a smile, of course, you two nobles came at the right time. How old do you want to choose? A man or a woman? Yan Xianglou is not good at this matter, so she has no words. Ji Zhozhong said, bring all the new ones, I'll choose them myself. Sun Po heard this and knew that although the young master was young, he was knowledgeable. Don't try to fool him. I hope he is generous and can make her more money. Immediately shouted to the row of houses, all the newcomers are coming out today. As Grandma Sun finished speaking, the doors opened one after another, and 7 or 8 people came out of each room. Men and women lived in separate rooms and stood separately. The men stood on one side and the women on the other. On one side, there were more than 30 people. Po Sun introduced, the ones sent today are all well educated. Whether they are running errands or letting them do other things, there is no problem with anything else. I have spent a lot of effort to get these. Yu Xianglou could see that several of them had cultivation levels at the clan level. She was very surprised. How could a person with such cultivation become a slave? Although she doesn't know how to select people, she still pays attention to everyone's expressions and movements. Ji Zhozhong stood in the middle. He first looked at the man's side, then at the woman's side. Then he pointed at a middle-aged man and said, he. Sun Po immediately called people out. The middle-aged man hesitated for a moment before walking out. Ji Zhozhong glanced at him and prepared to continue selecting people. Although their courtyard was a 3-in-1 courtyard, it was just him and Luoluo. 6 servants were enough. Changfeng and the others would come after a while, and these things would naturally happen. They arrange it? At this moment, the middle-aged man spoke, Sir, I want to be with my wife and children. Yan Xianglou was stunned. There was actually a whole family that became slaves. The most important thing is that this man is one of several people with a sect-level cultivation. With such a cultivation, how can he become a slave along with his wife and children? Yan Xianglou is a little puzzled. Before Ji Zhozhong could speak, Sun Po scolded, Do you know what your status is now? The master only chooses your place, and you have no choice. The man held his hands tightly. Although he could do nothing, he did not give in to Sun Po's scolding. Instead, he said stubbornly, "We are a family of 4. If we cannot be together, we will die together." Yu Xiongluo's heart was shocked. They had all fallen to this point, and yet they still had the last persistence. She could already hear muffled cries from the woman's side. It should be the man's wife and daughter. Ji Zhong ignored Sun Po's words, but looked at the man and asked, "If I agree, what can you do for us?" The man's eyes lit up. "As long as the young master and young lady can reunite our family, I, Chen Moran, will be loyal to the young master and young lady throughout my life. I will never betray them. Otherwise, my soul will be destroyed and I will have nothing to do with the slave seal. I can make a soul oath." He looked at Ji Zhong with hopeful eyes, as if Ji Zhong was the only light of life he could grasp. After a while, Ji Zhong finally spoke, "Call your wife and children to come out." The man was so excited that he immediately called out his wife and children. The 4 members of the family hugged each other and cried with joy. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 404. The man took his wife and children and knelt down together. "Thank you, sir, for your support." Ji Zhong accepted their kneeling to reassure them. Originally, he wanted to choose 6 people, but this family of 4 already occupied 4 places. The man's daughter and son were both under 10 years old, so he would choose 4 more. Ji Zhong said to Chen Moran, "Chen Moran, I need 4 more people, 2 men and 2 women. You choose." Chen Moran was stunned. He didn't expect that his master would trust him so much. But after calming down, he understood that their future master was not a simple person. Who else could understand this better than being among these people? What about a person's character and ability? "Yes, Master," Chen Moran said respectfully. After saying this, Chen Moran selected 2 men from among the men. On the women's side, he asked his wives and selected 2 people. "Master, what do you think of the 4 of them?" Chen Moran asked respectfully, standing aside. Ji Zhong had seen all these people a long time ago and already had an idea in his mind. He saw that the person Chen Moran selected was among the people he had chosen. Okay, Ji Zhu nodded. As soon as Ji Zhong finished speaking, the 4 people who were selected breathed a sigh of relief. They all could see that although the 2 masters were young, it was definitely a good home for them. The family that can tolerate Chen Moran taking his wife, son, and daughter must be a kind person, and he will be much luckier than being bought back by those big families. "Luoluo, is that enough?" Ji Zhong looked at Yan Xiongluo and asked. His voice was completely different from when speaking to others, it was extremely gentle. Chen Moran's eyes flashed, and he understood. It seemed that the male master listened to the female master, and if he wanted to do good things in front of the master, he must have discernment. Yan Xiongluo nodded, "That's enough." She felt it was too much, but she also knew that it was because the 2 children were too young to do anything. She said to Sun Po, "There are only 8 of them. What's the price?" "Ji Zhong will be the one to choose. Let her do the counter-offering. Men rarely bargain when spending money." Sun Po immediately said, "Except for the 2 children, they are all people with a high level of cultivation. The 3 men each have 200 high-grade spiritual stones, the 3 women each have 150 high-grade spiritual stones, and the 2 children 100 high-grade spiritual stones, a total of 1,250 high-grade spiritual stones." Yan Xiongluo looked at Sun Po with a bright smile and said, "Sun Po, you are not serious." Sun Po was stunned. How could such a good-looking girl smile so hard that she felt cold? However, in order to make a deal, she still smiled and said flatteringly, "Your Excellency, I am the most disciplined person in the dental shop." I don't want more at all. Yan Xiangloo pointed to a family of 4 and said, they are a family of 4. If we don't buy it, can you sell it? Sun Po was dumbfounded. When a family of 4 bought this, although it was cheap, it was still painful. But if it weren't for this family of 4, she wouldn't have been able to get so many people. This family of 4 wants to live together and never separate. However, if anyone wants to buy slaves, they will buy adults who can work, so they are not willing to have 2 children. It's not a serious place where people don't want adults when they fall in love with children, especially the children's parents. Therefore, it is difficult to sell this family of 4. Ruan Xiangloo continued, my Jukong family has a kind heart. I couldn't bear to see their family of 4 separated. I also solved a big problem for Grandma Sun and prevented the 4 of them from falling into their hands. Hello, I'm okay, everyone is well. Grandma Sunday, shouldn't you thank us? Since you want to thank us, you should express your gratitude in some way. Ji Zhong stood aside and wondered whether it was him who was the kind-hearted Zhong that Luo said. Why didn't he know that he was kind-hearted? Sun Po finally understood that this was too expensive. Whose family did these 2 people belong to? Not to mention that he had picked out the best ones in his hand, and he was so good at bargaining. Since the nobleman said so, let's erase 50 coins. Grandma Sun gave in. After all, there was still a family of 4 in trouble, so it was appropriate to give up the price. There is no fixed price in any business. It is normal to bargain and bargain. Grandma Sun did not expect that the deal could be concluded at the fixed price. Yan Xiangloo counted on her fingers, 200 for the man, 150 for the woman, and 200 for the 2 children. Their family of 4 has a total of 550 high-grade spiritual stones. I solved such a big problem for Grandma Sunday. If it's a difficult problem, Sun Po will give you 50, which means I won't come next time. Sun Po's mouth twitched. Knowing that the aunt was still dissatisfied with the price, she said, then let's give another 50. Yan Xiangloo held out a finger and said, the 8 of them have a total of 1,000 high-grade spiritual stones. Grandma Sun's eyelids jumped. Whose girl was she? She was very scheming and said without giving up, the nobleman looks like a rich and powerful person at first glance. We only have $1,000 to fight with each other. $100. 1,000 yuan, Yan Xiangloo insisted. Sun Po knew that this person was not easy to talk to, and would not take hard or soft words. This family of 4 was really in trouble. They made a profit of 1,000, but don't ruin the business because of 100 high-grade spiritual stones. So he gritted his teeth in distress and said, okay, just 1,000 high-grade spiritual stones. You 2 nobles can take care of my Grandma Sun's business from now on. Yan Xiangloo's beautiful almond eyes smiled like a pair of crescent moons. No problem. Ji Zhong didn't wait for Yan Xiangloo to take the spiritual stones, so he took out 1,000 high-grade spiritual stones and gave them to Sun Po. Sun Po saw that Ji Zhong was so happy to take out 1,000 high-grade spiritual stones. The quality was very good, and she secretly complained that the richer the people, the more they deducted. Although the spirit stone was given by Ji Zhong, Sun Po could also see that he had listened to Yan Xiangloo. She found out the 8 people's identity tags and gave them to Yan Xiangloo. Then she checked the ID tags and registered them. When she sold a slave, she had to report it to the government office, so she knew the whereabouts of the slave who passed through her hands. The 2 men left Yahang with 8 people. The clothes on these 8 people were old and tattered, and their 2 children looked like little beggars. You can tell at this glance that he is a slave. Yan Xiangloo said to Ji Zhong, take them to buy 2 pairs of clothes, daily necessities, and bedding. Thinking that the mansion should be empty, Yan Xiangloo looked at the sky. She must give them a place to sleep tonight. Ji Zhong took out a kinkin bag and handed it to Chen Moran. We are waiting for you in this tea house. You take them with you and buy 2 sets of clothes for each person first. After buying them, change into 1 set immediately, and then buy bedding and toiletries. As well as the daily necessities you need, the rest will be purchased later. Chen Moran was a little flattered. This host family was so kind. They actually trusted them so much and let them buy their own clothes and all daily necessities so generously. Chen Moran took the kinkan bag and responded, "Don't worry, master, we will be back as soon as possible." The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 405. When the 8 people left, Chen Moran's children were held by their mother one by one. The 2 children turned their heads curiously to look at Yan Xianglou as they walked. The 2 children who have been malnourished all year round have darker skin, are thinner, and are shorter than children of their normal age. This was the first time they saw such a good-looking person, and they didn't turn their heads until they were out of sight. Yan Xianglou felt a little distressed when she looked at the 2 children. Zhizhou Hong took Yan Xianglou into the tea house and ordered the best spiritual tea and snacks. The 2 of them sat at the table near the window, drinking tea and eating snacks. Luo, with different identities and different experiences, everyone has their own way to go. As long as we do not bully them and give them fair opportunities, as long as we are loyal and work hard, we will not treat them badly. It's not impossible to get rid of the slave seal, but that's only if they deserve it. Zhizhou Hong knew that although Luo would not let anyone enter her heart easily, there was kindness in her heart that she didn't even know she had. But sometimes kindness can become a sword in the other person's hand, severely hurting oneself. Yan Xianglou was stunned for a moment and understood what Zhizhou Hong meant. She nodded, "Yes, I understand." Seeing that she didn't say he was cruel, Zhizhou Hong was relieved, and continued, "Our energy is limited and we can't waste it on these trivial matters in life. We bought them just to use them. We don't want to do everything ourselves, so why buy them? Let each of them do what they are suitable for. Employing people must give them a certain amount of trust, so that they will do things more attentively." Yu Xianglou suddenly realized that this was the way to employ people, and she really needed to learn it hard. Zhizhou Hong reminded her again, "This Chen Moran's life experience is not simple, and he himself is not a simple person. Do you still remember the historical records that the fat old man gave us when we first arrived in the higher continent to apply for identity cards?" Yan Xianglou thought of the thick historical records that the fat old man gave them. It recorded the development history of the mainland and also recorded the lives and families of many famous people. Although it was just a quick glance, she also read through the contents. Zhizhou Hong reminded her that Chen Moran's life experience was not simple. According to historical records, the Chen family encountered such a big event and became a slave. Ruan Xiangluo's eyes suddenly opened wide. He is the grandson of the previous lord of Huayu continent. The information about the Chen family was almost at the end of the historical records. Yan Xianglou finally remembered Chen Moran's name from the several pages of the Chen family's list. Zhijudian nodded and said, "It should be." Then he added, "The last master of the Huayu continent had an accident 3 years ago. There are rules for slaves in the mainland, which is to serve for 3 years before they can be released for trading. Judging from the time, it should be him." Although Chen Moran was the grandson of the previous lord of Huayu continent, at that time he was not outstanding among the many grandsons of the lord of Huayu continent. It should be said that it was as if he did not exist. Therefore, he was able to survive the catastrophe. There must be human factors in the fall of the lord of the Flower Moon continent. Otherwise, after his death, the entire family would not have been accused by the current lord of the continent and became sin slaves. Among them, those with good talents died during their service, and the remaining all of them have average talents. And from the information they bought about the masters of various continents, they can see that the current master of Huayu continent is a ruthless and ambitious person. He is definitely not stopping with the masters of the continent. Judging from what he has done, Xuanhuan inferred. After all, he has been in the royal family since he was born, and has been in charge of imperial power for so many years. He is very sensitive to the methods and purposes of high-ranking people. This innate perception has never made him wrong. Since all the talented people have died, why do you say that Chen Moran is not a simple person? Yan Xianglou asked curiously. Xuanhuan asked, if he is a simple man, can he protect his wife and two such young children during his 3 years of service? Yan Xianglou thought of his 2 children, who are less than 10 years old and 3. The child was only 4 or 5 years old a year ago. How could such a young child survive the life of a sin slave? When she thought about this, it became clear to Xiang. Although neither child is very healthy, being alive proves that their father is very capable. She gave Xuanhuan a thumbs up. You are so awesome. Xuanhuan smiled, this is amazing. Yan Xianglou nodded, why is it not great? She grew up in the intrigues of a large family and always thought her eyesight was good. Compared with him, she was much inferior. They're back. From where Yu Xiang was sitting, she happened to see Zhang Moran and the others coming back. They had changed their clothes and washed themselves up. This Chen Moran was really good at getting things done. Yan Xianglou had a smile on her face when she saw the 2 children who had put on new clothes. Although they still looked dark and skinny, they felt like children because they had been washed and put on new clothes. Before they could come in, Xuanhuan and Yan Xianglou got up and went out. It was almost time and it was time to go back. Master, everything has been bought. Chen Moran saluted first before replying. Xuanhuan nodded and said, on our way back, you can buy some rice and vegetables that you usually eat. Chen Moran responded immediately and glanced at the 2 children, his eyes filled with distress. He and his wife were able to go without food all year round, but their 2 children had just awakened their spiritual roots when something happened at home. There was not enough food, and the 2 children were barely alive. If they hadn't awakened their spiritual roots, he might have thought of another way. There is no way to protect them from survival. Now I am finally settling down and my children can grow up healthily. Just thinking that the few remaining members of the clan had been sold to all parts of the mainland, and he didn't know whether he could avenge this, made his heart twitch again. On the road, Xuanhuan and Yan Xianglou walked in front, followed by 8 people. Chen Moran was a very smart person and did not fall behind after buying some rice and vegetables on the way. When the group returned to the door, Yu Xianglou saw Mr. Meng's attendant standing outside the door, who was also the one Yu Xianglou knew. When the attendant saw the 2 men returning, he immediately saluted and said, my young master asked me to thank him. I'm sorry for bothering you today. I will definitely thank Mr. G and Miss Yu warmly when I have the opportunity in the future. Yan Xianglou glanced at him and said, no need to thank you. Just stop disturbing our lives for a while. The attendant knew that Yan Xianglou really didn't want to see them, so he didn't say anything more. He just said what the master told him. Then I'll take my leave. The attendant saluted and turned to leave. As he walked away, he glanced at the 8 people standing behind them, especially Chen Moran. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 406. Chen Moran looked at him calmly, and the attendant was a little surprised. These people were not like ordinary servants, especially the man who looked at him, whose cultivation level was above the clan level. Did Xiangyang city come to invade the slaves? He hurried back to report to the young master. Xuanhuan and Yan Xianglou led 8 people into the yard. Chen Moran walked at the end and reached out to close the door. Xuanhuan asked Yan Xianglou to put all the furniture they bought in the front yard. These are the furniture we bought today. You can arrange whatever you need in each room. They are all yours. The men live in the front yard, and the women live in the backyard. From now on, Amoran will be the housekeeper of the house, and the yard is newly purchased. All the old furniture and daily necessities have been sold. You can take a look at what you need, and then report it to Amoran, and go buy it tomorrow. As for what you should do, Amoran will arrange it. Chen Moran didn't expect that Jizhong would let go so much and leave everything to him. This is not someone that can be cultivated in ordinary families. Yes, Chen Moran responded immediately. Since his master's family trusted him, he naturally had to do his job well. After all, after 3 years of hard work, the whole family finally left the place of service alive. Just because he wanted to keep the whole family together, he had already rejected many buyers at the risk of death. Those people simply knew his identity. First, they were concerned about the missing wealth of the Chen family, and second, they felt the pleasure of summoning the grandson of the former lord of the continent. That's all. Even if he agreed to buy their family of 4, he was unwilling to do so and insisted on death, so he became a hot potato and was sold together to Xiangyang city at a low price. He could see that Jizhong was a person with a big picture in his heart. He didn't see any disdain for him in his eyes. He was just an ordinary buyer. When he proposed that a family of 4 be together, although he hesitated, but agreed. After arriving at the mansion, he knew better, because after buying his 2 children, the master bought 2 more servants, and he remembered this kindness. They are slaves and cannot change it in their lifetime. I have not heard that the master rewarded the slaves to release the mark of slavery. The most they can do is not give the next generation of slaves the mark of slavery. Therefore, if there is a good master, he does not mind staying loyal for a lifetime in exchange for his children and grandchildren being freed from slavery. The only thing he cares about is that no matter how hard he plots, his arms can't twist his thighs. How can he avenge the feud? No matter how many things were on his mind, Chen Moran never forgot what he had said to his master before. After responding, he knelt down, raised his right hand and made an oath. I, Chen Moran, will be loyal to my master in this life. At this point, he looked at Jizhong and Yan Xiangluo. He didn't know the names of their 2 masters yet. Jizhong said, "My name is Jizhong, Luoluo is my fiancé, and my surname is Xiangluo." Chen Moran was stunned when he heard his surname. His surname was actually Ji. Could he be a descendant of that family? Then I am an unyielding master. He then renewed his oath and said, I, Chen Moran, will be loyal to my master Jizhong and Xiangluo in this life, and will never betray me. If I violate this oath, my soul will be scattered and I will never be reincarnated. A red light enveloped Chen Moran, Jizhong, and Yan Xiangluo, and the oath was fulfilled. Jizhong is still satisfied with Chen Moran who does what he says. If a person cannot do what he says, he will not use such a person even if he is branded with a slave mark. But Chen Moran's oath only involves himself, which also shows that he is a cautious, quick, and calculating person. Although such a person has some small ideas of his own, it is still easy to use. After all, smart people are obedient and neat. They can grasp the key points and get things done without you having to say much. Therefore, he can tolerate some small thoughts of his own. After all, people are selfish, and if they don't do it for themselves, they will be punished by heaven and earth. Jizhong helped Chen Moran up, and then said to everyone, "Don't doubt people, don't doubt people. Since I bought you, I believe you can do things well. Leave the affairs of the house to Moran Guan, and work here. I only ask for 2 things, loyalty and sincerity, rewards for merit, and punishment for demerits. There is no upper limit to the reward and no lower limit to the punishment. I don't think you want to learn this." Except for the 2 children, the 8 people looked confused, and the other 6 people said in unison, "We must be loyal to the master and work hard." The 2 children also knelt down quickly, We are also loyal to the Lord and work hard. Ji Kong nodded with satisfaction. They are all understanding people, so things will be easy for them to do. Children who grow up in difficult times mature earlier than children who grow up in good times. Let them get familiar with the mansion, arrange a place to live, and assign their respective responsibilities. The two of them took a look at the study first. Good guy, not only were the bookshelves gone, but all the books had been moved away. It was really bare and there was nothing. Looking at each other with Yan Xiangluo, Ji Hong said, I will live here from now on. After all, in this world, the requirements for women are still very harsh. It is an exception for unmarried couples like them to live alone in a household. There are no outsiders when they are alone. Ji Hong still attaches great importance to these things, which will affect Yang Xiang. A matter of losing reputation. Ruan Xiangluo was stunned for a moment, and then understood what he meant. In the past, it was just the two of them, and it didn't matter how they lived together. Now there are servants here, and they are not married. They live in the main courtyard as before, and it doesn't matter to her reputation. Not good. This Sanjin courtyard is not big. It is inconvenient for her as a woman to live in the front, so Ji Kong can only live in the front yard, so she nodded. Anyway, this room used to be a study room, and it was bigger than the hospital bedroom they lived in. It wouldn't be a grievance for him to clean it up. Go and refine furniture for your room first. Ji Hong was not willing to live too far away from her, but for her reputation, he had to do this. The two of them turned around and went to the main courtyard, looking through each room, and sure enough, they were all empty. Although it was expected, the two of them also felt that Mr. Meng was sure that the thing was among the furniture in the courtyard. It seemed that it was right to leave him a fake painting. Ji Hong said, I will go into the space to refine the furniture in the room first. Luoluo can go and see if the things in the warehouse behind are still there. Yan Xiang nodded. After all, the room was too small and the furniture was all large, making it inconvenient to refine. However, her space was still spacious. After Ji Hong entered the space, she turned around and walked to the backyard. Chen Moran and the others were still in the front yard and had not come over. Yan Xiangluo saw the 6 open warehouse doors and the door to the side room and walked over. I thought to myself that the other party would not take away all the daily necessities. But after looking at each other, Yan Xiangluo's mouth twitched. Well, she was overthinking it. The other party was really like a locust passing through the border, leaving no grass behind. It's okay, just buy them all again. After all, you've hacked so many spirit stones, so what's wrong with replacing them with new ones? The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 407. Back in the main courtyard room, Ji Hong was still busy in her space. The 2 bedrooms were empty, and the main room between them was also empty. There was not even a place to sit. She simply leaned against the door frame and looked at in the space, Ji Hong refined furniture. It can be seen that what he refined is a bed. Although Yan Xiangluo has slept on several beds, and also slept on a bed in another modern world, she has never slept on a refined bed. She was curious about the difference between a bed made from refining and a bed made from wood. Following Ji Hong's movements, the thing wrapped in flame slowly took shape, and Yan Xiangluo finally saw clearly what the bed looked like. Wow, it's so beautiful, Yan Xiangluo couldn't help but said. Ji Hong withdrew the flame, and the refined bed fell on the ground in space. A bed made by Ji Hong is like a room. The vermilion color looks calm and majestic, and the exquisite carvings reveal delicacy everywhere. There is a dressing table and a table on both sides of the pedal. Under the table is a small cabinet with double doors that can store some things. Ji Hong turned around and left the space, and saw Yan Xiangluo leaning on the door frame with her arms folded, smiling. He knew she had seen the bed he made. Do you like it? Yan Xiangloo said with a bright smile, I like it very much. Hearing this, Xuanhuan waved his hand and cleaned the room, then moved the bed out and placed it where the bed was before. The house is too small, and the bed can only be made so big according to Xuanhuan. She wanted to make the bed larger so that she would not feel bored whether she was practicing or resting. As for the shaker, he didn't have a clue yet. He couldn't refine it for the time being. He would figure it out later and refine it for her to use in the space. This is just right. The sleeping area does not need to be big, so that you can feel safe. Yan Xiangloo walked to the bed and touched here and there. Sense of security? Xuanhuan was stunned when he heard these three words, and then he understood. This girl has been living alone at the age of 10. People in Tianshun city have ill intentions towards her, otherwise rumors will fly all over the city. Obviously these are still right. She has an influence that makes her feel insecure. He must give her a sufficient sense of security in the future. He doesn't want his beloved's sense of security to be provided by a bed. Go and refine other furniture. Don't worry, refine your bed first. Just have a place to stay tonight, Yan Xiangloo said to Xuanhuan, then took out her quilt and bed curtain and began to decorate her bed. Bed. Originally, she didn't pay much attention to her room, but now that Xuanhuan made such a comfortable and beautiful bed for her, she thought about decorating it properly. Xuanhuan glanced at the bright red bed curtains and quilts that she took out, and a smile flashed across her eyes. This girl likes red so much. After she finished decorating the bed, it felt like a new house. New house? Xuanhuan narrowed his eyes when he thought of the new house. He wanted to live in a room and sleep on the same bed with her, but it would probably take a long time. Sighing secretly, he turned around and went into the space to continue refining his own bed. They are busy here decorating their home, and Mr. Meng is also busy over there. They spent the whole day looking for things in Yang Xiangloo's yard. The furniture and supplies were all put away, so they could come back and check slowly. When the servants came back, they were destroying the furniture and utensils they bought at a high price one by one. The corners of his mouth twitched when he saw the pieces of furniture and utensils smashed open with clumsy strength. Even his wealthy master was smashing the furniture in the study and bedroom with his own hands. He knew that although this was the stupidest way and also consumed time, it was the safest way and there would be absolutely no omissions. Master, they came back and bought 8 slaves except for 2 children, none of them are simple. 3 of the men are above the clan level, the attendant reported. Mr. Meng paused and said, check the identities of those slaves. Yes, the attendant immediately arranged for someone to check. It's simple. There is only one dental shop in Xiangyang city that can sell slaves, and it is also the largest dental shop in Xiangyang city. At this moment, Mr. Meng pried open a wooden board, surprise burst out in his eyes. Come over, 2 people, there is something discovered here. Following his voice, 2 followers came over immediately. They were very happy when they saw the old scroll exposed, and finally found the same one. The 3 of them worked together to break the board into pieces bit by bit, and then they took out the scroll. Mr. Meng stood up, took out the shadow stone, and input his spiritual power. A picture appeared on the shadow stone. It was this painting and the dagger-like token. Master, this is the painting. The attendants were all excited. They have been working hard with their master for so long, and finally found one thing. Is the other thing also among these pieces of furniture? Mr. Meng carefully rolled up the scroll and put it into a brocade box, then put it away. He ordered the 2 of them to smash the furniture together with him. Now that the most easily damaged scroll was found, the other one didn't need to be so careful. But I searched very carefully. In the end, there was not even a piece of wood larger than a palm in all the bookshelves, desks, and chairs, but I also didn't find the dagger-like token. Mr. Meng took out the furniture from the bedroom in the main courtyard and continued to smash it. In the end, everything was smashed and the token was not found. Everyone is a little disappointed. The scroll has been found, but why is there no token? Mr. Meng looked at the debris all over the yard with complicated eyes. Since he could find the scroll, it meant that Zhizhong and Yan Xiangluo had not touched the furniture, and he did not find any hidden compartments in these furniture. So, then he had searched the courtyard many times with people who were proficient in mechanisms. There were no mechanisms or dark rooms at all. Why is the most important token missing? What is the problem? His eyes narrowed. Could it be inside the dragon-headed crutch? At this time, the people who went to check the slave trade news came back. After Master Meng heard who Zhizhong and Ruan Xiangluo were buying people, and how they bought people, Master Meng narrowed his eyes. This Zhizhong is waiting for him. His status in mainland China should not be low, and the way he handles things makes him feel like he is in a superior position. Don't bother them anymore since it is certain that the treasure has nothing to do with them, then don't make them unhappy anymore. It is impossible for a simple person to come to the southern continent from such a blockade by the Twilight Continent, young master. Although such a person does not have any family background, he also has no weak points. He cannot offend unless necessary. Once offended, he will be killed by the other party, and he must not be given a chance to counterattack. Zhizhong was busy for more than an hour and finally finished refining all the furniture that he and Yan Xiangluo needed. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 408. Chapter 408 does not need to be changed. Zhizhong's bed was much simpler, so he made a canopy bed. Although it was simple, it was still exquisite, because it was simpler and faster to make. He directly made the tables and chairs in the hall between the bedrooms. He also made some commonly used furniture, such as wardrobes, clothes racks, washstands, etc., and also made a screen for each of their bedrooms, so that when they open the door, they can have an unobstructed view of the room. Especially since he lives in the front yard. The room opposite Luoluo was freed up. He made some bookshelves, desks, and chairs, and simply arranged them into a small study room, so that it was convenient for Luoluo to use. After Yan Xiangluo's furniture was arranged, she felt that it finally felt like home. I thought that Zhizhong's room hadn't been tidied up yet. So he and Zhizhong went to the original study room in the front yard, which would be Zhizhong's room from now on. Yan Xiangluo moved all the furniture out of the space and settled it. It finally looked like a room. When she saw Zhizhong's bed, she asked, "Do you have a bed curtain?" Zhizhong shook his head. How could he have such daily necessities? He had prepared bedding because he was not in good health and would feel uncomfortable at any time. Yan Xiangluo hesitated and said, "Then do you dislike the color red?" Although she has several sets of bed curtains, they are all red. Zhizhong doesn't seem to like pornographic colors. Zhizhong immediately understood what she meant. "I don't dislike it. I like everything Luoluo likes." Yan Xiangluo rolled her eyes at him. Everyone in the Tianqian continent knew that the regent of the Tianshan Empire liked white clothes and hated bright colors. Zhizhong touched his nose. He really liked red because he liked Luoluo. He wasn't lying. Yan Xiangluo ignored him and took out her own bed curtains to decorate his bed. As for the bedding, she thought about it and found that it was already arranged like this, so she simply took out a set of red ones and spread them on him. Looking at the bright red canopy bed, Yan Xiangluo was looking forward to what it would be like for Zhizhong to sleep on it. At this time, Chen Moran's voice came from outside the door, "Master, we have packed everything, arranged the personnel, and listed the things that need to be purchased." Zhizhong and Yan Xiangluo looked at each other very quickly. After the two of them walked around the screen at the door and came out, they saw Chen Moran standing outside the door with his head bowed and not looking inside, even though there was a screen separating them. The other 7 people were also standing there politely at the bottom of the steps. Chen Moran saw the two people coming out and explained the arrangement of the 8 of them in detail. Master, there are 4 of us men. My son's name is Chen Jinghe, and their 2 names are Tiangaiu and Xuanhuan. Ji Judian nodded, and Chen Moran continued to introduce, my wife Du Dainu and my daughter Chen Jinwen are called Feng Jiayan and Su Muchuan. Master, let's see if we need to change their names. You can tell from their names that they all came from a good background before becoming slaves. Normally, slaves bought back by their masters would change their previous names and take the master's surname directly and give them another name. Although the 2 masters were easy to talk to, Chen Moran also knew the rules and was worried that his master would change their names, but if he really wanted to change them, they had no right to refuse. Although he has become a slave, he still wants to take his own surname. There is no need to change it, Ji Zhong spoke. He doesn't like to give others his surname. If he wants to give his surname to anyone, there is only one person, Yu Xiangluo. Chen Moran was relieved, and everyone else looked relieved. Obviously they didn't want to change their original names. Chen Moran led a few people to salute and said, "Thank you, Master. You need to be grateful. There are no slaves bought by the master who can still keep their surnames and names. Some of them will not even be given surnames by their masters, only their first names." Ji Zhong said, "These are all small things. You can just do your best in the future." Yes, 8 people and 2 children responded. Although they are not very old, their 3 years of experience have made them much more mature than other children of the same age. They have learned to observe words and emotions, and know that these 2 people will be their masters in the future, and they will be loyal to them all their lives. Chen Moran also told how they lived. Chen Moran, his son Chen Jing, Tiangaiu and Xuanhuan lived in the front yard, in a side room next to Ji Zhong's. His wife and daughter, Feng Jiayan and Su Muchuan lived in the rooms on both sides of the back room in the backyard. Let the family live separately, and the fragrance is a little disappointed. But I didn't say anything. After all, women can't live in the front yard, and men can't live in the backyard. It seems that the yard is still too small. What will happen when Chang Feng and the others come? Yan Xiangluo looked at both sides of the yard. It would be great if the house next door was sold. Ji Zhong saw her wandering eyes towards the next door and knew what she was thinking. Let's live like this for now. When they all arrive, let them worry about these things. Ji Zhong really doesn't want to worry about these things. Seeing that he was successful, Yu Xiangluo said nothing. Because she still cared about one thing in her heart, which was to become famous for her medical skills. Wuzzy has been away for a day, why hasn't he come back at such a late hour? Is there something going on in the city lord's mansion? Chen Moran continued, Master, Feng Jiayan comes from a family of skilled cooks. She has good cooking skills and the meals she cooks have few impurities, so she is assigned to take charge of the kitchen, cooking and making tea for the masters. Dainu and Su Muchuan are in charge of the inner courtyard. The specific chores will be arranged at that time. Tiangaiu has the highest cultivation level and guards the safety of the courtyard. Xuanhuan is responsible for the chores in the front yard. If the masters want to go out, he can accompany them. I will follow the master's arrangements at any time. Jinghe is 9 years old this year. If the master doesn't mind, let Jinwen serve the young lady and Jinghe serve the young master. What do you think of this arrangement? Yan Xiangluo didn't want to let the 2 children work at all, but I heard that they were both 9 years old and should be twins. Even though they were a bit small, they could still do something. After all, she has been living on her own since she was 10 years old. Ji Judian nodded and said, okay, people will come again in a while. Please check whether the yard next door is for sale. If it is for sale, buy it immediately, regardless of the price. Yes, Chen Moran understood immediately upon hearing this that the master was not short of money. You don't have to tell me what you need to buy. Just decide. After saying that, he threw Chen Moran a gift ring, which contains spiritual stones. This gift ring is for you. You can exchange the spiritual stones in it into convenient crystal coins. How to exchange and how much to exchange depends on the situation. Yes, Chen Moran caught the ring. He had one of these before, but after he became a sin slave, they were all searched away. Unexpectedly, the master rewarded him with one. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 409. Although Chen Moran grew up in wealth and experienced prosperity, not everyone in the family has a gift ring. Only those children with excellent talents and those with extremely high status in the family have such treatment. Even if he is a direct descendant, he is only qualified to use the Kinkin bag, just because he is not as outstanding as those brothers and sisters. The storage ring he later owned was obtained by his own ability and had nothing to do with the family. This gift ring was very precious to him in the past, but his master gave him one casually. How could he feel calm? Looking at the storage capacity of the storage ring inside, it was so large that it was 3 or 4 times larger than his previous storage ring. Looking at the spiritual stones inside, he was a little confused as to who the master was and why so many spiritual stones were handed over to him like this. But he only thought about these in his heart. The stronger the master is, the easier it will be for them. Now he only needs to think about how to do the things assigned by his master. Since the owner is coming, he really has to think of a way to get his neighbor to sell the yard, preferably both sides. It was getting late, so Xuanhuan asked everyone to go down and rest. After all, the 8 of them had been serving for 3 years, and today was a really relaxing day. They were both emotionally and mentally excited, so it was time to relax. Xianxia returned to the main courtyard alone. She looked at the room opposite the bedroom that had been turned into a study room and felt a little disappointed. Only then did she realize that Xuanhuan had occupied a very important position in her heart. A smile appeared on the corner of his lips. It felt so good, and his heart was finally no longer alone. Although there are parents, master, and sworn brother Tianjun here, these feelings can all be attributed to family affection, which is still different from love. She can trust and rely on her relatives, but her lover can communicate with her soul. This feeling cannot be replaced by others. After realizing this, Xianxia no longer struggled. Although she was young and had not experienced love, she would take the relationship with Xuanhuan seriously, cherish and value it, and would not abandon her as long as he did not leave her. If one day it really reaches the point of no return, although it will be sad, you can let it go if you can afford it. After thinking about it, Xianxia felt relaxed both physically and mentally. Instead of going to rest, she entered the study room. Now the bookshelves in the study room were empty and there was not a single book. Xianxia first regarded this place as an alchemy room, and placed some bottles and jars that she often needed on the bookshelf, so that she could easily pack up the elixirs she had refined. After refining for most of the night, she returned to the bedroom to rest just before dawn. She always felt as if she had forgotten something, so she didn't think much about it. With Xuanhuan here, even if she forgot something, he would get it done. By the time she woke up from her sleep, it was already 3 o'clock in the morning outside, and she had never slept so late before. Little girl Chen Jinwen has been taught some rules by her mother on how to serve her master. Although her daughter cannot learn them all at once, she can teach her some important ones and then teach her slowly. Du Dainu was still very sad. Her children were supposed to enjoy a life of being served by others, but because of the changes in the family, they had to serve others. This kind of psychological gap didn't feel big to the child when she was still young, but she felt extremely distressed. But she also knew in her heart that after 3 years of service, the once prosperous and wealthy family had become a thing of the past. The Chen family was lucky to have such a good master now. And this luck was the result of a calculation and planning by their husbands who risked their lives, so they should cherish it. She has no feelings about avenging the Chen family. As a woman, she just wants her husband and children to be safe. If she is more greedy, she hopes that she and her husband's future children can escape from slavery. If Jinwen and Jinghe can also escape from slavery, she will be a slave to her master for the rest of her life, and she is willing to serve her with her life. Jinwen, who was taught a lot of rules by her mother last night, was still a little nervous. After all, this is different from the military service. People there are not bound by any rules. The only ones who are bound are slaves like them. Therefore, as long as you work hard, there are not so many rules. Now that she is actually serving her master who is as beautiful as a fairy, she is still very nervous, fearing that Yan Xianglue will not like her. Hearing movement in the room, she immediately whispered, "Master is up." Yan Xianglue was a little surprised when she heard Chen Jinwen's voice. She was used to taking care of her life alone, but she was not used to being waited on all of a sudden. "Get up," she responded. Jinwen immediately ran to fetch water to wash her face, gently opened the door, walked in, put the basin on the washstand, and came over to help Yu Xianglue tidy up her clothes. Yan Xianglue looked her over. Although the little girl was still dark and skinny, her hair was neatly combed. She had put on clean new clothes and looked much more energetic. It was also very neat to help her organize her clothes. It was obvious that her 3 years of military service had made her accustomed to doing some chores. Yan Xianglue felt very emotional. If it hadn't been for the trouble in her family, Chen Jinwen would have been a little girl living a wealthy life. From her name, you can tell how much her parents loved her. Her fate is unpredictable. After Yan Xianglue washed up, Du Dainyu came in and said, "Master, Dainyu, please comb your hair." Yan Xianglue didn't object when she heard this. She was not good at complicated women's buns and could only do simple ones. Du Dainyu has very good rules. He picked up the comb to comb Yan Xianglue's hair, and then gave her a Xianxia bun. He did it very quickly without hurting her. This shows that Du Dainyu is a considerate person. I have to admit that Du Dainyu has a pair of skillful hands, and this is the most beautiful bun that Yan Xianglue has done since she returned here, making her already stunning appearance even more beautiful. Sure enough, people still need to dress up to enhance their appearance. Du Dainyu looked at Yan Xianglue's simple white jade hairpin jewelry. He didn't see any other jewelry, so he inserted the hairpin into his bun. She was secretly amazed that her master's appearance was unparalleled. Even without makeup, he was so beautiful that people couldn't take their eyes away. Even Miao Xinlan, who is known as the most beautiful woman in mainland China, is much inferior. With such an appearance, she doesn't wear any accessories, and her beauty is fresh and refined. "Master, the master said that the master needs to eat 3 meals a day. Jiayan has prepared the ingredients and made breakfast for the master," Du Dainyu reported. She was surprised at the attentiveness of the male master. He let the female master sleep until she woke up naturally without saying anything, and even told them these little things. "Well, I'd like to try her cooking skills." Yan Xianglue did not refuse. If she is good at cooking, she doesn't have to do it herself. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 410. Chapter 410 Heating of Feelings, 1. At this moment, Ji Zhong came from the front, and Du Dainyu immediately bowed with his daughter and stepped back with a look. Ji Zhong's eyes lit up when he saw Yan Xianglue's bun. His logo seemed to be more beautiful, but the headdress was a bit lacking. With a thought, a large box appeared on the ground in the house. Yan Xianglue looked at the big box curiously and asked, "What's inside?" "Open it and take a look," Ji Zhong said with a smile. Yan Xianglue glanced at him suspiciously, stretched out her hand to open the box, and found brocade boxes of different sizes and styles inside. Picked up a brocade box and opened it. Inside was a bracelet made of white crystal stone, which was moist and exuded a comfortable aura. Yan Xiangloo glanced at Ji Zhong. Is this all jewelry? Ji Zhidian nodded and said, well, let's take a look and see if you like it. Yan Xiangloo's lips twitched. Although she was indeed very happy, what she was thinking about was, do men like to buy jewelry for the women they like? In her memory, her father often bought jewelry for her mother, and every time it was like offering a treasure. His bright eyes seemed to be expecting her mother's praise. Now Ji Zhong's eyes were exactly the same as her father's. She seemed to be very happy indeed, so she understood why her father worked tirelessly to sell jewelry to her mother. I like everything you gave me. Yan Xiangloo knew that all of them must be fine products without looking at them, because Ji Zhong's appreciation level was not that high. Ji Zhong laughed after hearing her words, but still urged her to open it and take a look. Yan Xiangloo had no choice but to open the brocade boxes one by one. A large box was immediately placed on the floor. From hairpins to hairpins, earrings, rings, necklaces, bangles, bracelets, and even skirts, we have prepared a lot of them, and many of the jewelry are in sets. There was actually a belt made of crystal stones. Low-key luxury described this feeling. She fell in love with it at first sight. Ji Zhong kept observing her expression and saw that her eyes were very bright when she saw the belt. He knew that she liked this and thought about making a few more belts like this for her. That's right, these jewelry were all made by Ji Zhong himself. The styles were designed by him and then refined. They were no ordinary jewelry. Space stones are added inside, and any piece of jewelry has storage space inside. Yan Xiangloo didn't expect this layer, so she didn't realize there was any space inside, nor did she expect that these jewelry were all made by Ji Zhong himself. After the surprise, Yan Xiangloo said helplessly, why are there so many? When did you prepare them? After they came to the high continent, they didn't go into many cities in the Duosui continent. Even in the few cities they entered, they didn't go to any jewelry stores. When they came to the southern continent, Ji Zhong has been practicing, and after they came out, they almost all together, he has time to buy these jewelry. I have been preparing for more than 2 years. I thought of a style you might like, so I drew it, then looked for suitable materials to refine it and put it in this box. I didn't expect there to be so many, Ji Zhong said. Since he saw Yan Xiangloo changing into women's clothes and her simple headdress, he wanted to give her this box of jewelry, but he was busy and didn't think of it until he saw her changing her bun this morning. Yan Xiangloo was stunned. She glanced at the exquisite jewelry and then at Ji Zhong. You designed and refined them all? And you started preparing them 2 years ago. It has been more than 2 years of preparation, and they have only known each other for more than 3 years. I have been targeted by him for a long time, and I didn't even notice it at all. Ji Zhong looked a little unnatural. If you look carefully, you can see that his ears are a little red. I started preparing for it as soon as I was sure I liked you. Yan Xiangloo felt like fireworks were set off in her mind. She was excited but also felt a little unreal. At this moment, she remembered how cold and indifferent he was when she first met Ji Zhong. At that time, she just wanted to stay away from him and not have anything to do with him. But when they met again later, she didn't realize that Ji Zhong had any interest in her. Nothing special, let alone like it. Although she had asked him before when he started to like her, he said that he didn't know, maybe he liked her when they first met. She just heard this, but actually never believed it. When we first met her, she had just come back from the line of life and death, and he was so embarrassed that he couldn't bear to look at her. At that time, Ji Zhong, who was as noble as a in the 9 heavens, would like her? I won't believe it even if I beat her to death. But now that she saw this big box of jewelry, she seemed to believe it. I'm a little flattered. Yan Xianglou didn't know how to express her feelings. Compared with Ji Zhong's feelings for him, he seems to be much calmer about his feelings. Even if he accepts him now, he cherishes his feelings and wants to be with him for the rest of his life, and is calmly prepared to separate in the future. Prepare. Yan Xianglou suddenly felt that she had violated Ji Zhong's feelings for her. Ji Zhong, who was secretly shy, heard her words and said helplessly, "Luoluo, how did you manage to be so calm at such a young age?" Ji Zhong knew that he was a calm person, but when facing the woman he liked, he would do some things impulsively, even things that he thought were stupid before. However, Yan Xianglou is obviously 6 years younger than him, and she is still a girl who has just grown her hair. He knows that she has no relationship experience, but she seems to have always been very rational in her relationship with him. But Yan Xianglou understood that it was probably because she didn't love her enough. She walked up to Ji Zhong and looked at him with watery almond eyes. "If my love for you is not equal to your love for me, will you feel aggrieved?" The smart Ji Zhong instantly understood what she meant. A flash of sadness flashed across his eyes very quickly, but it was still caught by Yan Xianglou, making her realize how much Ji Zhong expected that she could love him as much as he loved herself. Ji Zhong took her into his arms and held her tightly. "Luoluo just needs to love me a little, and I will love you the rest." Hearing his aggrieved and tolerant words, Yan Xianglou smiled and said, "Ji Zhong, I seem to love you a little more. It's not that I love him more because he gave me a big box of jewelry, but because of the thought and effort he put into these jewelry." Ji Zhong's eyes suddenly lit up. "Well, I will make Luoluo love me more and more." He knew that his efforts were not in vain. The little girl was already opening her heart to him and letting him live in her heart. At this time, Ji Zhong released countless fireworks in his heart, and he was a little happy. After living for 22 years, he understood for the first time what the happiness and joy brought by love felt like. End of this chapter.